present the video. So we're about to do it now. That's why I've learned to say my thoughts out loud. I've learned to say my wonderings out loud. There you go. To make sure we all on the same page.
Bring up those two women, Lena the Plug, and who was just married, and Alex Cooper, who just got engaged, because those are examples of two non-Black women who Alex built her brand off of talking about sucking and fucking, okay? Alex, throughout her 20s, built a very big business with Sophia Franklin talking about being whores. Like, that's what they call themselves. Talking about how good they suck dick. The idea that if you are just chaste enough, okay? If you downplay the number of sexual partners, you know, there's this obsession with talking about quote unquote bodies on the Black anti-feminist / misogynist side of the internet. Obsession with talking about how many women have had sex with. Obsession with talking about, oh, we don't want to be stepdaddies and all of that.
Oh, yeah, that's the red pill, bullshit. Blue pill dudes. Yeah.
The men who want to get married. Yep. And they're not choosing virgins. They're not choosing women with no children. They're choosing the women they like. That's it. That's it. It's not about, I don't have any bikini pictures. No. The woman who made her living selling fucking bikini pictures laid up with a man right now. It's not that. And it fucking makes me so frustrated that there are so many people, particularly Black women, internalizing this idea that if you are nice enough, pleasant enough, friendly enough, fit enough, modest enough, chaste enough, that one day the 6 foot tall, $250,000 earner of your dreams is gonna look at you. No. So do what the fuck you want to do. Do what the fuck you want to do. The men who want to get married. They find someone. The men who want to be partnered, get partnered. It's not about child support. It's not about alimony, which, by the way, less than 10% of people who get divorced even have to pay alimony. You don't want to do it. That's fine. It's fine. I'm not even really up in arms about not wanting to get married. But don't give us that fucking bullshit. And then as a woman, don't fucking be talking about, she wears a thong bikini. And by the way, the man that Alex Cooper is engaged to, a legit, real-ass Columbia grad entertainment executive. Not a slouch. She's got hundreds of hours.
I love Kimberly Foster. She is colorful. She is spicy.
She is. Are we in, B?
Yes, we live.
Oh, I need my countdown. What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the In the Zone podcast. It's your boy B Foster. Brian Foster's back in the building. Sorry guys, that threw me a little bit. There was a lot of swearing and
it's a lot. I'm sorry.
And harsh words in
what podcast is this?
And harsh tonage in that clip. I wasn't ready.
Jesus. I didn't realize we were in the, Blessed Thou Father podcast. I wasn't aware of that. My bad.
You got to warn me.
She was in her zone.
I didn't know that was cut.
I sent you that clip last week.
Yeah, you know I don't watch that stuff you send me.
Well,
anyway, y'all, what's going on? Welcome to another Wednesday. We're happy to have you join us. Hope you're enjoying your summer. For everybody that got out of Black Scene, hope you enjoyed the boatage.
Ooh.
There you go. We're going to dive right into this one. Shon, this is really kind of your topic, your show, your episode.
Why?
I'm just along for the ride, baby.
Why you sound scared?
I'm a little scared.
Why you scared? What is
I ain't scared.
What is scary here?
When I've been scared.
First of all, don't you need to introduce people?
I will. But I want to give you an opportunity to...
All right, so shout out to Kimberly Nicole Foster. She is easily one of my favorite YouTubers.
What up, cuz?
She talks about a myriad of things, but she's had a lot of conversation lately about challenging women's perceptions on relationships and being a little men focused and a lot of different things. So I encourage you all to listen to her. She's probably going to get some people a little riled up, but that's okay. We need opposing opinions so we can formulate more well-rounded points of view.
Absolutely.
Right?
Sure.
But this one struck me as very interesting, right? This conversation about being good, you know, hitting all these benchmarks, having only 2 partners in your whole life, you're 50 years old, and not being too educated, but being educated just enough, you know, being subservient, but having a bit of an opinion, but not too much of an opinion, because if you have too much of an opinion, then you're not. Like, we have to hit all these little, like, pointers, right, to be considered wife material. And I wanted some wives in here to actually tell us, is that what we actually need to do in order to get wifed up?
Fair enough.
As somebody who is not wifed up, you know, I need all the advice I can get so I can be wifed up. Or she could tell me, like, girl, fuck these niggas.
Do you?
I don't know where it's going, but let's see where we land.
Do you see where the bodies fall?
Yes.
Baby?
I wanted some advice from some seasoned wives if being good is how they landed their menses.
All right. Well, let's get into it. I think that's an awesome topic. I'm interested to see where this goes. As a lone male on this panel, I will do more listening than talking for once. But let me introduce our wonderful panelists. They are both non-rookies. They both have been on the show before. It's been a while, longer for one than the other. But let me bring in our virtual guest first and foremost. This is one of my best girlfriends. We have hung out for far too long. Hey, Lena.
I know.
This is my girl, Lena B. What's going on, baby?
Hi, everyone. Hey, Chi-Town.
Hey, boo-boo.
I'm missing all the fun.
Well, where are you? Why are you not here?
I'm in South Florida.
Oh, fair.
She moved to South Florida on us. We can't be mad at that.
It's better weather.
Yeah, we can't be mad at
A
that.
worse governor, but better weather for sure.
I know.
It's got pros and cons.
It does, boo. It does. Because those beaches, I'm okay.
Yeah.
But
So I was looking at my memories today, and this is tomorrow will be 3 years to the day of your first appearance on the Inner Zone Podcast.
Oh.
So welcome back.
Happy anniversary.
Welcome back. Happy anniversary.
Yay, I'm happy to be back. Yay. Thanks for having me, guys. I hope I can contribute.
Oh, well, that I'm not worried about. And then to my right, we got my girl. She has been on many an episode. It's been a little bit.
A little bit.
I think it's
Why
her
she
first
never
time
been on one with
in
me?
studio. It's usually been around movies.
Oh, I don't come on those.
So now
I'm not allowed.
We're going to
That's
widen the lens here and let Shell really spread her wings and talk her stuff. Shell, what's going on?
What's up?
How you
Hey,
doing?
Chi-Town.
You ready?
I'm good. I'm
You good?
ready. This is a good topic.
All right, let's get
Oh,
it.
thank you. You know, Brian be a little like, I don't know about this topic.
Come on,
He'll send me a text like, I don't know, but let's try it and
Right.
see.
We have to have the hard conversations. Let's get into
That's
it.
right. No, Sean was sending me these topics, and then we're like, no, go get some guests. What the hell?
Wait, I did the heavy lift. I found the topic. I found the clip.
See?
No, the heavy list was getting some women to talk about.
That's true. All right. So, Elena, I assume you are married. I know Michelle is, in fact, married and has been married for a while. You're married?
I'm married, and I will have my 12th anniversary at the end of the month.
Okay, so
Happy anniversary.
these are very seasoned married women. I
I've
appreciate
been
you
here
getting
for a
some.
little while.
Yes.
These women have
Where my boy at, by the way?
He's with the girls.
Good for him. That's right. So get out the house. This is why you get crazy. I love it.
So let's. You talked about your marriage. Like, how did you meet your partner? Just, you don't have to give like the whole background. Just a small snippet.
That's
And-
that's a good segue. That's a good intro. So I met my husband through a work event. I was an event planner, and we worked for the same company, and he showed up at one of my events. And the rest is history. Now he'll put a spin on that and be like, I grabbed her while she was walking by, and then she was just mine. But I'll let him have that piece. I'll throw it in for him.
That's right.
And
Were you walking by him intentionally for him to grab you?
oh,
Maybe.
Touche.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
now,
You ain't gonna have my boy out here looking like no molester.
No, he tells that
well, first of all,
story.
he made himself look like a molester.
He
Grabbing
tells
on
that
folks.
story. No, he
Ugh.
tells. That's his part of the story, but he tells that story. But I will say this: I feel that maybe there's a little manifestation on my part, because the night that I met him, I went home and told my mom, I was like, I met this guy and I'm going to marry a guy like that. I didn't say I was going to marry him.
But a guy
But
like
I said, I'm going to marry a guy like the guy I met tonight.
And my follow-up question, and then we'll move on to Shell. Why do you think he picked you? Outside of the fact that you apparently let him molest you in the middle of a party.
Yeah. Why do I think he picked me?
Yes.
That's a good question, and I've been kind of thinking about that. I think we had instant chemistry, and that was really undeniable. And that's a rare thing for me. But I think for both of us, eventually it evolved into definitely a friendship. It evolved into a mutual respect for each other. I think that we were both ambitious. So we had a lot of things
Keep going.
aligned for us in terms of our personality, in terms of what we wanted in life. And I was watching the guys from the clip earlier, and it was definitely about timing for both of us. So I wasn't necessarily the springest of chickens, but I wasn't also, it was just perfect timing, I think, for both of us.
I'll take that. That was cute. All right, Michelle, your turn. How'd you meet your partner, and why did he pick you, do you think?
So, we have a little bit of history. I have known my husband since we were 14. Was not interested in him at all. At all.
Those makes the best husband.
At all. I wasn't. I'm just keeping it real. But he was cool, and he will tell you. He says he was in the little brother zone. So I'll say that because I'm older than him. We've known each other, like I said, since 14, and then we lost connection. Probably around mid part of college, because he was with me in college too for a couple years, and then he disappeared, right? And there was a marriage for me that happened in between, and then a divorce, and then we reconnected, and the rest was history.
Oh, okay.
So no. How did you reconnect?
From a dirty little thing called Facebook.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. So after I got divorced, a friend of mine was like, you should get back out there, and all of our friends are on this thing called Facebook. You should log in or whatever. So I said, okay, cool. So I log in, and trying to pick a profile pic, right? So I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm looking at everybody else's profile pictures. Some are sexy, some are way sexy, some are kind of in between. So I was like, okay, let me throw a little pic on here, thirst trap a little bit, right?
That's right.
So I put a little skin pic on. Wasn't like completely skin, but it was like upper body. I had a little strapless thing on. Mm-hmm. Posted it as my profile pic, and he fell in my DM.
No,
he was just like, "What's up? How you doing? How's the fam?" Because he knew I was married. And I was like, well, I'm good. I said, but
fuck that nigga.
I said the family ain't the family no more. It's just me and the baby. So and he was just like, oh, we need to reconnect.
He did the chatty rub.
We did.
That's an inside joke.
I see. Because we don't get it.
That's right. He was like, watching. He knows.
That's right. He was like, we need to reconnect. I said, well, let's do that. And so we did, and that was it.
And why do you think he picked you?
So he will tell you that he's always thought I had a great rack, and I know he's watching.
That's right. Put it in the comments, sir.
That was his reason, he says. But I think we just had history. He knew who I was, and I think we connected on a lot of levels. And I don't know. I think we have a lot in common, but then I kind of compliment some of the things that, like we compliment each other.
Strong where you're weak.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of ultimately what pulled us together. And the fact that all of our friends are the same because we've known each other forever. So, the families kind of meshed together. And that was a crazy story, too, because we found out at our engagement party.
But y'all were cousins.
Almost.
Oh, no.
Near miss. Okay, near miss. But we found out that our families grew up together and went to the same grammar schools as well. So
Oh,
it was
super
kind of
cute.
cool. It was kismet, I guess you can say.
That's super cute.
Yeah.
I love that.
Since Brian's not going to talk this episode, he just going to drink and...
What am
I mean,
supposed-
I
what's the
guess he
question?
can't talk about how he met his husband.
Right, I'm about to say, there's no question here
And
for
why
me.
his husband picked
There's
him.
no
Well, why
question
did you
here for me.
choose your wife?
We did this show already.
Yes, he's talked about it because she had great legs. That's
So it's common. It's common. So it was my rack and her rack.
I mean, there's always some physicality to this. It's not get it confused by any way, shape, or
I
form.
would agree. I would agree.
Lord. All right, so I just did a show.
Wait a minute, hold on.
I'm sorry.
You trying to bounce.
I'm not married.
You're not married. However, you are now in a relationship, a fairly new relationship.
It is a very new relationship.
I'd like to ask you what you think made your soon-to-be husband pick you.
Oh, I don't have to talk about how we met. Great. Okay, so because that was the first question.
Oh, no.
Oh, well, don't skip the
Oh,
question. I'm
do
sorry.
tell.
How did we meet? So I hope he's not watching. He's gonna hate this. So he actually, first of all, he is friends with Brian, or what? Y'all still friends? Friends with Brian. Never watched the show. Never, ever watched the show.
These guys should have took my friend.
Never watched the show. For the first 2 years, Brian had the podcast. I guess sometime after I joined, he called a live, saw me, and was like, "Huh, she's cute." I started seeing his name in the comments.
Now, does Mark watching every show?
I did see his name in the comments. Now, in all fairness, if I haven't met you, your name is just a name and you're an avatar. And that's kind of how I saw him. So I was out. If everybody remembers, I had COVID when I went down and hung out with the Qs. Shout out to Omegas. And I was actually at a party outside trying to avoid people. And he pulled up on me. Did not know it was him. And I went up to him to say something to him. And the first thing out of his mouth was, "Don't you have COVID?" And I was like, "Nigga, do I know you?"
Oh, wow.
The fuck?
Excuse me, sir.
When
So
you put it on the airwaves.
he introduced
Public
himself,
knowledge.
which I did recognize his name. And he said he wanted to hang out with me later. And I was like, whatever. And he actually did come back to hang out. And I won't get into too many details because I could tell the story for an hour. And we ended up hanging out that night. And we've been together ever since.
Why you?
Why me? Honestly,
you?
honestly, I don't know. Just
should
based on
ask.
his personality, I don't know. He said, so he is divorced, and he said that going in a new relationship, he wanted somebody who had their own friends and who was social, right?
Makes sense.
So I popped up,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently I'm very social.
This podcast.
There you go.
Very social.
Very so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not very social, but I'm social enough. So
But I will say, if you were previously married and divorced, you tend to do that. You look for what
The
was
opposite.
missing in the first. So,
I mean, she had big titties.
That's
I
fair.
had big titties, so he kept that commonality
well,
going.
you know, there's some things they like.
We talked about the physicality.
Yes.
That's
So,
always
but yeah,
good.
so I would say it's not just that. I think, I play well in his sandbox, meaning a lot of the things that he likes to do, like he's very
Yeah.
affectionate, and I play well in that sandbox. He is very silly, and I play well in that sandbox. I'm able to be silly with him. Like one of the first things we started doing as a couple is he's very into video games. Well, he's very into a specific video game, and I went and I learned that video game with him.
Oh.
And I think that it definitely impressed his friends, even so much so that they thought I was a man.
Oh.
Yeah, they did. They were like, "Are you sure that's a girl?" I was like, "Yes, I'm a girl."
Coming from his friends, I believe it.
So, but yeah, I think he was impressed by that I was willing to get into his world, understand the things that he likes.
That's cool.
And I think that is why he picked me. If I had to pick something.
That's important.
That's important.
So, it's not about Chantel, though, because Chantel's not married. So, now that we've kind of dug into that, I just did a podcast where I was told what men want, right? Some of it, obviously, I can't disagree with all of it because I'm not a man, right? But some of it, it's a gnat in here, I have questions on. So, I want to ask the married women who, clearly you've been married. You've met a lot of married men because your husband is married to you, and I assume some of his friends are married. Knowing what we're told what men want, do you think that's accurate? They say they want somebody with a low body count. They want somebody who's fairly attractive. They don't care about your education or your money, which I always disagree with. Yes, y'all do. You know, like they say these things, right? I mean, obviously they want you to be loyal. They want you to be, you know, nurturing, whatever they consider that. Do you think what they say they want is actually what they want? And if not, what do you think they actually want in a woman? In generalities, obviously not your specific husband.
Well, I think that there are things that are considered table stakes. I will say that.
Ooh, that's a nice high level word.
That is.
There are things that I feel most men want in a woman, right? And they all kind of the list starts at the top and it's the same. I think it then begins to vary based on the individual person. But ultimately what I will say and what I tell my single girlfriends is that stop thinking that you know what he wants. Listen to what he says, because men are, I don't want to say just, they're not basic, but they basically tell you exactly what they want.
No, we basic.
In no uncertain terms.
We simple as shit.
I think we try to interpret, we ad-lib, we add color, we think we might know, and I really don't think that's really what you want. I think you want this.
And sign language, this is applause, by the way. Just so you know.
And then you're going to start doing on the podcast?
This is applause.
So I think that if you want to know what a man that you're interested in wants, listen. He will tell you.
That's hard to follow up.
I know. And I was going to, my next question was.
Hold on, wait.
Go ahead.
She nailed it in a lot of ways. I think what a man wants is really dependent upon each individual man. I mean, different men in different positions in their lives and different parts of their lives want different things. And I will say, you know, and men at various points in their careers and their age want different things from different women. And she's absolutely correct that as men mature and as they change, they want different things. So you may have a man that's ambitious, climbing the corporate ladder, and he wants that person to have those same attributes that he has. But you may have a man who's kind of made it, really, really made it, and some of those things fall off and he wants different traits or things that women bring to the table. It becomes very different for him, right? So if you have a man that's really, really successful, that career piece may look a little different for him, because he may not, your salary or your career may not be as important, because his career is going to be the one that's important in that relationship for him. So that can vary.
And I think I want to start digging into this idea of being good, right? Because that's the topic of the show. I think, well, let's kind of define, or we can all kind of go around kind of thinking about what we think good is. And as the resident man, I think you are a good person to start off the conversation about what is a good girl. What's a good woman?
When we're saying good,
it's your interpretation, man.
No. This is being defined by sexuality, sexual prowess.
I was gonna say, because it's gotta be good.
Is this really the root of what we're talking
So
about?
if we listen to what Kim said, I think it's yes and. I think it's in the space of having chastity or being virtuous, right?
Okay, so
being motherly, like all the things that we see to be good in a human being, being generous, being kind, I think it's all of the above, but probably more specifically to what Kim is saying is, being virtuous, having this being pristine. I love that word pristine, because I think it speaks to what a lot of men are trying to have or maybe not a lot of men. A lot of men I have conversation with is that they want their woman to exude some level of pristineness, right? So
Can I blow that completely out of the water?
Wait, we're not there yet. We gotta define the good.
Okay,
We gotta define the good.
I got something, and I gotta put it out there. But you go ahead. Don't let
you got a hot take. But as the man,
I'm gonna
good girl. I know. Good girl. What is that?
So let me say this. I think when you're younger, and Lena B has already spoken to maturity in a certain way, right? When you're younger, and your social circle or your world view is smaller, right? You want somebody that you can say, yeah, ain't none of my people been with this, or ain't none of my guys dated her, or blah 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 blah. She was hard to get, and whatever. You kind of put that on the pedestal. I think as you grow older and wiser, and your world expands, and sometimes shrinks, right? Because the more people you know, the more people they know, and that degrees of separation gets crazy. You worry about it a little bit less. But I think here's the key to this. I think men say that because that's what they think they want. But I don't really think when it comes down to it that it really matters, because what happens is you go after this pristine or this chase that's right. Everybody or this chase that, or she doesn't post any bikini pictures of blah blah blah. But what you usually go after first is the one that's got the bikini pictures and the da da da. And then what you find out is, oh shit, she's actually really smart and really cool. And fuck, I actually kind of really like her. And I'm going to throw all that other shit out the window because now I know her as a person as opposed to this image she displayed. And to be frank, the kind of good girls, quiet girls, and the corner girls, they're harder to get to, right, in a way. And they kind of sometimes miss out because Miss Thotty, whatever you want, that bullshit term you want to throw around, got to him first because he thought that was going to be easier, and then he messed around and fell in love.
I'm proud of you for actually being genuine about that, because we've had motherfuckers come on here talking about that virtual shit, and you be rolling with them, and I'm like,
I think I'm not, again, this is not universal. I think that matters to some more than others, but when we're talking in generalities, I think dudes speak on that more than they act on it.
I would agree. All right, Elena. Clearly, you got a crazy hot take. Let's go.
Let me throw one name out there: Lolo Jones.
Little about Lolo Jones.
I am saving myself for marriage. I am a virgin. I am going to give that to that one special guy. She is saying that has held her back in her relationships. She is going on 40. She has not been married, and that is how
hold on. We muted right now. Hold on. Yeah, I think that. Hold on. You could be. We good. You can. I think she's good.
Did you hear me? Did you hear what I said?
Mute to speak. There you go. You can unmute us.
Lolo Jones. She is a 40-year-old virgin. Gorgeous woman. She is an Olympic medal winner, and she says her virginity and her keeping herself chaste has made getting a relationship harder for her.
Why do you think that's the case?
Oh shit, we just get mute us again.
I mean, you gotta dig into that. Like, why?
Because I think sex and intimacy are always a thing in a relationship, and they become a thing. And you, at some point, men want to have that intimacy with a woman that they're around. And I personally, and I'm sure men probably feel this way too, I know that I wouldn't want to marry someone. What if you married someone and you had zero sexual chemistry with that person? So so I would say, like, as beautiful as a woman that Lolo Jones is, and I think as virtuous as her message is, I just think it is not working in her favor. And I don't think that realistically it will work in very many it is not favorable for a relationship. At some point, you have to know that you have sexual chemistry with the person that you're going to marry.
Wow.
Hold on, I do want to say this.
Go ahead.
Lolo Jones is batshit crazy. I just want to put that out there as a.
How did you land there? How did you get that Lolo Jones is batshit crazy?
Did you ever watch the challenge?
No.
I did.
I know.
Is that why she's not married?
I'm just gonna put that out there. But I do believe Lena's point is accurate. Outside of that piece, I believe that probably has hurt her because, particularly when you're at a certain age, as a man, it's like I'm gonna wait in what? I gotta marry you to what?
Right.
Yeah, B, that's not gonna happen.
So I've heard for years, right? And then we're gonna get back to the topic at hand. That men hear that virgin thing, and it's like almost like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a dare, like like a challenge, right?
It's a
Like,
challenge.
she's a virgin. Oh, let me see if I'm the one that can break her.
When I was under 22, yeah, nobody.
Look, I'm telling you, this is
nobody-
40-year-old men telling me this, so I'm just saying.
I'm telling you right now, men say a lot of shit they don't really mean.
God damn it! Didn't we just start off this show saying that you gotta ask a man what he woke because he'll tell you because they're real simple? Now you're telling me men are full of shit, which I've always said.
But you can't take the shit talking wrong.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Seriously.
Right. Two things can be the same.
I'm just throwing it out there. Now we gotta decode when men are talking shit and when they telling the truth.
It's pretty obvious when we talking shit. Shell, what you think?
Yeah. I just don't think that shit is real. I'm just gonna be real.
What, being a good girl?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, what is good, right? So I think it depends on the person, right? So certain people want certain things. You know, they want you to be good at certain things. They want you to be a good mother. They want you to be a good partner at home. You know, that kind of thing. Some men want a good cook because they can't cook. You know, whatever it may be. But I think if we be honest and we be grown.
Let's be grown.
Yeah, sex is a very real part of a marriage. I'm going to say it again for the people in the cheap seats. Sex in a marriage is a very real thing. Because sometimes...
Oh my God, you like he was having a seizure right there.
Sometimes it's the one thing that keeps you together in a certain moment. I'm just going to keep it all the way real. Sometimes when you can't say what you want to say, whatever it may be, there's angry sex, there's makeup sex, there's I'm not feeling well, can you make me feel better sex? I mean, I had a hard day. Let me take you down a notch sex. All of that, right? Sex is a very real part of your relationship. And if you are not able to please your partner, there's going to be some smoke in the city. I'm just saying.
Man.
Maybe it's just because I'm a sexual person. I don't know. Maybe it's an Aquarius thing. I don't know. But I'm just saying, sex is a very real part of a relationship. And please do not mistake that. And if you're older, that pressure is even greater. Like if you're younger, then okay, we're both inexperienced, right? We both have had limited exposure. But if you're older, that's difficult. And I can see why Lolo is having all these issues.
Because she's a virgin? Damn,
Yeah.
y'all hard. Y'all are hard on poor Lolo.
Yeah, especially if she dating men in her age pool.
Yeah.
At 40, you expect to have people to have some experience all across the board, you know, and at 40 something plus, you would be surprised probably at that point if somebody hadn't at least been married. You'd be like, what is wrong with you? You haven't even been married once? So you definitely expect that someone has had their fair share of sexual experiences. And so, yeah, I don't know what the definition of good is, but you know what was really refreshing about my relationship when I got with my husband is we did not have the body count conversation. I think that we were very mature to go, you got to pass, I got to pass. We're going to get together and make our future.
Oh. So I'm a share a story that's going to feel like it has nothing to do with it, but it does a little bit. So a couple of years ago, I was at a family function and me and my grandfather got into it about women having children outside of marriage. He was very much so women should not have children outside of marriage. You should wait until you find your husband to have sex. And my response,
sex or to have kids?
Well, both actually.
Okay.
It was one and the same for him.
Okay.
Right? And I said, well, what if you don't find that person? You would have missed out on an entire milestone of your life waiting for somebody who may or may not come. Mm-hmm. And if that's what you want to do, why not do that? Right? Mm-hmm. While I was saying this, there was a woman in the room who was in her 50s at the time. She had dated her then husband for about 25 years before they had gotten married. So by the time they got married, it was too late for her to have children.
See?
And she was really hurt by what I said, not because what I said was hurtful, but because it was a reflection of what the choices she had made. She had spent her life trying to be virtuous and pristine and missed out on a milestone that she so desperately wanted to have.
Yep.
Why do I share that story? The good girl shit, at least for most people, it does work for some, and some women have happily ever afters, but the bulk of us being good has not served us. It's not helpful. And all intents and purposes, to the Lolo Jones example, I think, what was the singer that was light skinned and she talked about her virginity for a while until she lost it to Shon, what's his bucket, and that blew the fuck up. And in this story, right, like, we spend so much time trying to model ourselves off what we hear men want. It really does hold us back from being the people we actually are.
It does. And I think ultimately everybody deserves to be happy, and you should do what makes you happy. If you are an adult, you are in a place where you can make decisions that adults make. And if this is what you want to do, you want to go home with him the first night, you're an adult, you do that. If you want to wait, you wait. I just think that there are varying degrees of what is considered good, right? Like, I don't want to be with somebody that's out there, and I don't know what's coming through the pipes, literally. Okay? I'm just, let me just go ahead and put that out there.
That's a really eloquent way of saying that.
I like it.
And I don't think, a man would want to just lay up with somebody and he's not sure what will wrap around, right? So I'm not saying be ridiculously out there or, don't put yourself in danger, right? Or the person that you want to be with. But I think that you have to have some level of experience. That's just my thought. Because you have to know what you like and what you don't like. Because if you get with somebody, and I think that it's generational as well, right? Because back in the day, women weren't getting married because they liked the guy sexually or they liked what they saw. A lot of times it was arranged or this is what we gonna do. And most women had sex to procreate. That's it, right? So they didn't have a say-so in whether or not they enjoyed what was going on to them. In a lot of instances, they didn't have a say in what was happening to them. And I think that now that we have come into our own power and we know what we want and what we don't want, and it's out there, and people discuss it, and, we have discussions all the time, like, girl, have you ever seen the rose or what's the other one?
That scares me, by the way. The rose, scary as hell.
I'm just saying. But, it's women who just, like, I have friends to this day that say they have never had an orgasm from oral sex. What? It's happening. How can you... I'm just saying, like, I just think that we're just in a different age, and we can't think that way. Everything needs to be progressive, and that includes relationships.
And to your point, we're only a generation or two removed where marriage for women was really just about economics, like we're only a generation or two removed from being able to have our own careers and make our own money, right? So in that time frame, that good girl and that chase conversation was relevant. But now, I have two daughters, and I would like for them to experience life in their 20s. And for life in your 20s, because I had a great life experiences in my 20s, and I got married early 30s. And I would say, I want them to date. I want them to know what kind of man they want and what they don't want. And I don't hear my red flags, because if you're Chase and you haven't had those experiences, you're not going to know what your red flags are. You're not going to know what you like and what you don't like. And so, I can look at my husband today and I can go, we may be in a season or a moment where we're not getting along, but I like you. I chose you. I respect you. I respect who you are. I hope you still respect who I am. And I love you. And, it helps you to kind of move forward and grow and evolve in your relationship.
Wait, unmute. Say that again.
Oh man, I gotta repeat.
No, I'm just saying.
No, you're good. We're muted so you don't echo.
Okay.
But Michelle said something while you were talking.
No, I'm just saying. I'm following what you're saying. I'm saying, and you look good, so now roll over. Just saying.
I think that is important, though. That's a great point, E. And Michelle, I think that's a great point that you made earlier. I think it's. So a lot of times when you have these conversations about experiences and whatnot, particularly sexually, it's about, you don't know how to please a man if you ain't never done this, that, and the other. No, it's not about pleasing us, right? I mean, it is, but it isn't.
Because y'all don't get off anyway.
Right, we're simple.
Whether it sucks or not.
We're simple. It's really about knowing what pleases you, right? And, I mean, you can figure some of that out by yourself, but you probably need a few experiences to kind of know what's what. Yeah.
Because sex is made to be enjoyed.
And men are encouraged to have their experiences. So I think, to your point, you don't want like someone to have like a whole graveyard of folks that they've been with, but at least kind of know what you want, what you don't want.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's get into it, right? Because we've talked about people having experience. The infamous hoe, right? Mm-hmm. And when I say hoe, we all know you don't have to sleep with 100 motherfuckers to be a hoe.
Show down.
It could be 4 and you could be a hoe, right?
Depends on the 4.
Damn! Now it's subject to who you slept with?
Well, if it's 5 of my boys.
See what I'm saying? You just slept with 2 people, 2 of them are his boys.
I said
only 2 people.
I said 5. 5 was a very definitive number.
And we've already established there's 4 degrees of separation on the south side of Chicago.
It's
boys.
less than that. It's 2.
My dudes I know.
Jesus.
Anyway, go ahead.
But, okay, the infamous hoe, right? First of all, let me just say, I really hate that term because I think it's just used to be highly manipulative. But that's a whole nother show for another day.
It's a dumb term.
It is a dumb term. But it's still an existing term, right?
Yeah.
So we have these women, we have these men that look at how you move, you go out, you hang out, you have a lot of guy friends. Maybe they've seen you date a few. Mm-hmm. So now you're a hoe. Mm. How do you overcome, as wives, can you overcome your hoe rep? Get the words out, Chantel. Mm-hmm. And if so, how do you overcome it? So I probably should ask Brian that first, but we'll get to him in a second.
You should. But I'm going to say, for that term, that is, I think, a term that's used by probably somebody who's younger, because I think like as you have maturity, like I said, you've had your past, I've had my past. So I think for me, I think that's a kind of, that dies with maturity, that infamous, and I could be wrong, right? But I think that dies with, as you matured, as you kind of get to a certain age, it's, who hasn't had their fun, right? That's my opinion.
So there's no reason to overcome it because the shit don't matter. But we know that we all know, right, that if men look at you as not pristine, that does or can create a hurdle, right? Because one of the things, if I'm dating somebody and I think they want somebody chased, I'm like, look, I am not pristine, so you need to know that out the gate. So there is no confusion on our part.
I think there's a wide chasm between chase and pristine.
No.
I could be wrong there.
No? Because I just said, there are some men, if you sleep with 6 people, you a hoe.
Yeah, I think they're outrageous. I think they're outliers.
I don't. I think that's very common. I think it's very common. And I can't speak to why because I don't have a dick. But I think the number that men expect you of partners you have is deeply unrealistic. Because if you have 20 people, which is a realistic number, especially at my age, I'm 45. Not saying 20 is my number, just to be clear. Somebody would look at me and be like, that's far too many. I've never been married. And I've been fucking since I was 15. Like 20 seems like a very reasonable number.
Somebody
at my age.
But is that the majority? I don't think the majority would.
All I'm saying is we've had a lot of men on this show, And they would all scoff at 20.
Not all.
They'd be like, oh, what?
I don't think.
What the hell?
Yeah, 6 is too many.
From Jamal, who buried his sweetheart. I'm not listening. Yes, for your wife, 6 would be.
That would be way too many.
Right. Probably crazy.
Right. I think it's all relative. I just do. Like you said, like I think it depends on the age you are when you're dating or you're finding your mate. I think it depends on how honest you are with your own body count and your own numbers. Because my husband will tell you he was in a quantity over quality stage for quite some time.
As most men are.
So, I mean...
No, don't make that face. You know how y'all are.
The slander.
I'm just saying.
The truth. God damn it.
Judge lest you be judged. You know,
Right.
just put the word on it, okay?
That's right.
But I'm just saying, be realistic, right? Just be realistic. And is that really what you want? You really want somebody who hasn't had any experience and you've had all of this experience? Like, it doesn't match up. When we talk about equally yoked or picking somebody that's on your plane, is that really what you want?
I'm going to use the analogy that the very wise B. False told me.
All right.
That there are virgins out there who are sluts and they're going to be sex goddesses. They're unicorns. They're there. They're there somewhere. And I've been like, Brian, there's no such fucking thing.
They probably are. They're
I
probably
said they're unicorns.
like 2 of them in the whole wide world.
I didn't say they were in
bless
abundance.
you,
I said
Brian.
they exist somewhere.
They're probably virgins in the front.
Well, I didn't say their mouths or their
I'm
ass
just
hadn't been broken in.
saying. I'm just saying. So I don't know. I honestly feel like, as a married woman, I like to feel like I got a little hoe factor in me behind closed doors. I feel like that's okay. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Why wouldn't it be?
I feel.
I mean,
like
they want
that's
you to be a
okay.
hoe when the door's closed.
I'm just saying. I mean,
They just don't want your whole facts to come back.
Yeah, I get it.
With a whole,
With a whole lot of accidents.
with a whole lot of things
We
in it.
don't need a whole lot of accidents on your whole face.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
So are we saying, we're basically saying, first of all, we're saying the hoe is really just a myth. But there's nothing to really overcome. You just have to get older and these men just have to mature and then it's a non-factor. Is that basically what we said? We just have to get old for it to not be a factor no more?
Nah, I think you just need to get into a real conversation. I think when you having these side conversations and y'all just talking, and even if you're in a group and you talking, people just not real. They just not real in front of other people. That's all I'm saying. People say what they say in groups, and then they're a different person behind closed doors.
Now that's some big facts. Yeah.
And let's be real, like, if a guy is really into you and really attracted to you,
He don't care.
he does not care. He does not care.
As the resident man on here, see?
I
Okay.
won't say that. I won't say that.
If that report come back clean and she don't got nothing,
We talk about diseases.
yeah, all of it.
That's the bare minimum.
All of it. I'm talking about all of it.
What do you mean? What's all of it?
Like, she don't have, there's nothing going on. She can have babies.
Mhm.
She don't have no diseases.
Mhm.
And she good.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what that mouth do?
Mm-hmm.
Do you really care?
Mm-hmm.
Like a rug.
No.
I'm
Michelle, I have sat on, I've been on this show
Lies.
2 years, going
Lies.
on 2 years, and every man on here has said, you said, listen to what men tell you. Every man who's come on here has said they give a fuck how many people you fuck.
There's a level of care, and then there is a range, depending on the man, on what he will and will not accept.
I would agree with that.
So to say that no man really cares, if you slept with 300 men, yeah, there's going to be men that care. There's going to be some that don't.
Yeah.
So again, as I said earlier, I think what it really comes down to is if you often don't fall in love with who you think you're going to fall in love with because you open that door of opportunity thinking it was going to be something else.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what happens is with a lot of men, they're like, oh, ooh, that's a lot. But you know what? I'll still hit, but I'm going to run.
And they don't run.
And they
don't run.
And then they realize they're in quicksand. There is no running. They intended to, but then they realize that they really... So I think you men don't fall in love necessarily.
They grow in love.
I think men trip and and stumble and then kind of grow in love, right?
They skin their knee into love.
I mean, all of that. I think that, you know, again, you care until you don't care, but you care, and oftentimes, you care enough that you do skedaddle.
Yeah,
but that's not always the case.
But will you wife them?
Yeah, absolutely. Once you love them, it is what it is. Now, here is the somewhat limiting factor. Who all else knows?
See, so men
the
care
truth
about
comes out.
the optics of it all.
Let's put it in plain English. Let's put it in.
That's what folks is going.
That's right. Let's put it in plain English. We care about what you've done because it does speak to your level of discernment, your level of discretion, your level of decision making. But what we really care about is the ego. Mm-hmm. Can our ego deal with whatever your past is, and who knows about it?
Now that's the truth.
That's the bottom line.
That's the truth.
Because the discernment part, I've heard that before, and I'm like, if I'm 22, why do you expect me to be mature enough to discern who I'm hanging out with? That's not smart or logical for a 22-year-old.
We're not 22 though.
I'm just saying that, but that's part of my body count.
I get what you're saying.
And you can't hold me to whatever ideas I had at 22 at 45. That's not logical.
I completely agree. But at the end of the day, ego based.
So I wanted to get into this. I'm glad you brought this up. So I know I stopped the clip a little later so that part of what Kim was saying wasn't brought into context. But she brought up two white women. One is married to Adam 22. We won't get into the nuts and bolts of Adam 22, but he's a very famous YouTuber and interviews rappers and stuff.
Thank you.
His wife is a porn star.
Okay.
An active porn star, a very famous porn star. Mm-hmm. Right now, she is in the news because somebody she slept with was talking shit about Adam about how he fucked his bitch, even though he did it in the guise of porn. It's not like he just fucked her one night. They was filming her.
Oh, it was a movie.
Right.
Gotcha.
So now it brought all these questions to Adam 22, like how you marry this hoe. So he's married to a woman that slept with countless men, right? Mm-hmm. And the second woman that they brought up was Call Her Daddy, one of the women from Call Her Daddy, which I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with Call Her Daddy. Call Her Daddy is a podcast where two white women would sit and talk about all their sexcapades. They did this for 5 years until they broke up. So every single episode, they would talk about all the dicks they suck, all the dicks that's been shoved up their ass week after week. And it wasn't the same dick. It was various dicks week after week.
Variety.
So
let me get this straight. The two women would sit on the podcast and exchange sex stories.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Both of them, Adam 22 is married to a porn star. The other woman from Call Her Daddy is now engaged to one of the biggest CEOs in Hollywood. Mm. So, and this was what I was talking about in the other past. That white men really don't.
Both these are white men.
These are white men, yes.
Let's
white men don't get all wrapped up in body count, right? Some do. But when they get a level of success, they don't care how many people you slept with, because it ain't about that no more. So my question becomes for black men, what's it gonna take for y'all to get to that kind of space?
Well,
or Michelle, whoever wants to tackle that.
Well, I said, why you throwing that right to me?
Because you're a man, goddammit.
But that's not about me today.
I feel like we have some brothers that are in the same boat. Like, they don't care. Like, I mean, look at the Kardashians.
Oh, fair.
Look at Larsa Pippen.
I'm just saying.
Fair.
I'm just saying. I mean, so I don't think it's that. I think it's a man decide what he was going to deal with and what he's not going to deal with. And sometimes, depending on where you are in your life, you might warrant that arm candy that gives you that flash and that flare, right? And you don't care, right? Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't harm your bottom line, right?
And that's what I was speaking to. Yeah. Into maturity and levels of success. Because maybe their egos are fed other ways from the money that they have.
Yep.
So what I'm understanding is the more successful a man is, the higher the body count can probably be.
I wouldn't say that.
I won't say that
either. I'm asking. These are questions that I'm posing.
I think it's the person's. I think it's based on the person. It's based on what they want, what they need right now, in the future, whatever it may be. Because they may get with whomever right now, but that might not be their future, right? And then in other cases, it might be. I think it just depends on what that person wants in that moment and where they are in their life at that moment, right, when they're making that choice. Because as we can see, even in Hollywood, they choose for right now. It don't really always last long. Like, we don't have that many long-lasting Hollywood relationships where it's like real love, or it's a real relationship, or they rolling with the punches, or it's true marriage, right? Most times when we looking at what we see on TV, it's a contract.
No, you know,
and they know what they're getting into. So, I mean, I hate speaking in generalities anyway, because there's always an exception to the rule. But I just feel like it just depends on the person at that time. Everybody has an 80-20, right? And I think that 80-20 morphs as you get older. And I think it just depends on where you are at that moment when you're making those choices. So that's just what I think.
So I don't disagree with that. I do think some of it is cultural as well. I do think
I was just about to touch
that's
I think we do, because a lot of this being chased thing is cultural, and Kim talked about this, right? That we go to church and we listen to how we have to be this way and that way and godly and long skirts with turtlenecks, and that's how we gonna get the man, right? So I think a lot of this, and I can think about as a kid, like all the things I was told I need to be to get a man. I don't even know why my mother was pushing me to be things to get a man, but that's another show for another day. But I think a lot of it is cultural, and it takes something to move past the indoctrination that we've all received for the 30, 40, 50 years that we've been on this planet. And it is a strong decision to be like, I'm going to push against that.
I would agree. But I think every culture has something.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, they all have something. Like, that's where Stepford Wives and all that stuff was going, right? Yeah. So I think it just... I would agree.
I also want to throw this out there, and I'm glad you brought that up, Shon, because I was just about to touch on that, about the cultural aspect of it all. And also the smaller circles that we have to navigate, because there are less of us in this particular country. So, not all of us went to PWIs, but I'm going to use this as a microcosm of the world. When I was at U of I, there were 2,000 black people. Maybe 1,200 sisters, 800 brothers. Whatever that ratio turned out to be, something like that. And the sisters had to be keenly aware of how they moved, because the circle was so small. The 13,000, 15,000 white women, not so much. Because they could go to the Zeta Beta Tau house, they could go to the this, and they could go to the that. And
they could go to the Alpha Phi Alpha house.
We did not, men of Alpha Alpha only dealt with the beautiful queens of Africa.
Stop it.
What I'm saying is they had a freedom to move around and not be judged, not because they couldn't be judged, but because they could move in a little bit of anonymity.
Yeah.
Same thing in Chicago to a certain respects. We're very segregated, and even amongst blacks, we're segregating who we move around.
True.
But they can Lincoln Park, blah, 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 blah. 1,000 places they can move around and kind of not be judged because they're not known. So it gives you a certain amount of freedom and flexibility and sexual freedom that, in particular, sisters don't have.
That's a very valid point. I mean, now I'm still running into exes that I dated at like 21. I'm like, why are you here? Where did you come from? Damn it!
God, I thought you was dead.
And they be like, yeah, that's my boyfriend, blah, blah. I be like, God damn, I have got to get away from you, damn black people.
Yeah.
Sick of seeing these people.
So the circles we rotate in, it makes a difference. It does. And because our circles tend to be smaller, and I don't say this to make an excuse for brothers, but this is kind of where we've had this conversation on the show before. It's really less about how many necessarily. It's about who. Because no brother, and I've said this a million times, wants to walk into a spot holding his girl's hand, and it's 10 motherfuckers in the corner saying, oh, he must not know. Nobody wants to be that dude, and therein lies the complication for us sometimes.
I agree, Brian, but women don't either.
Man, I was just about to say, we have to deal with that quite often.
So I'm just saying.
Yeah, but y'all more used to that.
No. So,
No.
I mean, and my husband and I have had this conversation, like, you know, we going into some place that I might potentially meet people I don't know or meet somebody I didn't know. I need to know who in the room before I go in the room. Like, don't embarrass me.
I agree with that.
Period. Because I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that to him. And we had that conversation.
Well,
so,
wait a minute. Rewind that. So if he's taking you somewhere.
Yeah, we're going somewhere, and I'm going to be in the room with people that
he knows that you don't.
Correct.
Who could be in this room that might
be on his list.
Gotcha.
Like, tell me before I go in there. Because I know when we first started dating, you know, I was in a situation where they were just like, oh, yeah, I had him. And I was like, yeah, I know.
Well, I have him now.
Right.
I don't care.
So clearly it didn't work. But I'm just saying, I'm just
who
saying.
does that?
But some people.
You would be surprised.
You would be surprised. Some people are just petty.
They're petty.
And men are no different. Because I've absolutely been in a situation where I was there with my guy and a dude came up trying to flex with my guy there. He didn't say anything. It was more his body language. Like he was way closer than he should have been. He was looking at me at a certain way, and I had to.
He kind of making it known.
Yeah, and my guy is fucking oblivious, and I had to make it clear, don't do that without making a scene, which is strategic on my part. But
Lena, what you think?
So I didn't go to a PWI. I went to an HBCU, and while I understand what you're saying, I mean, there are still, even in the HBCU space, there are still circles. There are still people, the Chicago group or the people in the business group, and those circles, I mean, clearly you run into folks. When you run into them multiple times, there's more of a chance that you're going to still get to know. So I get what you're saying, Brian, but then I kind of don't, because I still feel like some of those white folks, they probably still end up in the same circles. Their circles are bigger, but
Agreed. I agree.
They still have their ecosystems.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not saying that they just moving around like amoebas and they can do whatever they want to do. I agree with that. They click up too. But I know I only use this. I only use that as an example, not only because of the numbers, but because I knew white guys and white girls in college, and I've had this conversation with them at the time, and they were like, "Yeah, I kind of burned that spot out. I need to. I'm a roll over here where don't nobody really know me."
People actually say that?
Yeah. Yeah, particularly white guys.
Yeah.
They like, oh yeah, I can't go to the cubby bed no more. I messed that up. So I need to move around. So yeah, but you're right. I mean, they eventually find their tribe, so to speak, as well. Yeah.
And I'd also argue with white people, they just do kind of some things differently. So you will see, I feel like white men they kind of figure out they want to settle down a little bit earlier than like the black men that I knew. They just kind of have those different kind of cultural ideations about relationships that are actually clearly much different than ours.
Because they are thinking legacy, generational wealth, time to get that done. Just things that we are not taught. And so I think that's just, or not taught, but like things that we are unaware of. Like we're learning them now, but they've known them for years, which is why
the parents had it, the grandparents had it, the great grandparents had it. So, but I'll even say this:
and they marry for pedigree.
Yeah, they do.
Their strategy for marrying is definitely different.
Completely different. But and I'll even say this, and now we about to, this is about to spin us off a little bit, but I think. Chantel hates this terminology, but I can't.
If you fucking say the talented
Jamal,
the talented
10th.
God damn
it! when they're outside, don't you acknowledge Jamal. When I think people that are make a little less educated, you'll see they get married way younger.
They do
than we do, and I think that's because of us. And when I say us, I think that's because of men, and because I think black men of a certain economic status, a certain educational
Success
status,
level.
or whatever success. I won't even say success because sex varies, but educational and economic level know that we got all the time in the world to do whatever we want to do, because even if I'm 50, I could probably pull me a 30-year-old that's gonna go because I got this and I got that and blah 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 and black don't crack or whatever else you want to say. And I don't think that really translates at the lower economic and education levels.
Well, it can't, because they don't have the same
exposure.
And they together for survival.
Well, yes, but they don't have the same options. A dude that makes 30,000 does not have the same options as a dude with 100,000. That's just, even though 100,000 is nothing, that is not a lot of money.
We are not gonna shit on $100,000 out here.
It's not a lot.
We're not gonna do it.
But they do not have the same. They do not have the same options. Their options are much, I don't want to say slimmer, but they just don't have the same options. So yeah, you got to do what you got to do. Because what else you gonna do? Just saying.
You could run through all the Walgreens checkers. Wait
a minute. I can't say 100,000 ain't shit, but you gonna say they gonna fuck all the McDonald's fried cooks? Is that what you're saying?
Okay, this is going really far left.
I was going left. I told you this was gonna
welcome to the In the Zone podcast.
Anyway,
we never stay on topic.
Back on track.
All right, so now that we've shitted on poor people for a hot second, we did a little.
You did.
Fine, I did. I'll take the bullet.
Yep.
So when we're talking about women getting wiped, right? I want to give them some kind of advice on what they actually should focus on. Like, we've already dispelled this myth of being good is not, it may get you wiped, but you have no idea who you're marrying at that point. What should women actually focus on if they want to get married to, obviously, a man? I don't even know why I was saying that. But you want to be married. You're not in a relationship. What should you focus on to become married? Let's start with Elena.
I'm going to say yourself. You should focus on yourself. I've never known a woman who was super desperate to be married to ever have success. It was the women who were kind of had their own thing going, had their career going, knew themselves, loved themselves, who were attractive inside and out, who attracted the right guy. And then once you get that guy, just making sure that, especially when you're dating, that you all bring out the best in each other, especially during that dating time. So if and I've been with someone who did not bring out the best in me, but I can safely say and luckily say I married somebody who, when we were dating, brought out the very best in me and still brings out the best in me today, some days. So that's what I would focus on. And I would say enjoying like the dating time and the relationship time. Because once you introduce kids and all that other stuff, you got to go back to those days, like when it was just you two in the room, right? And then being able to just kind of really grow and evolve together. But I would say the key point is, if you're looking for someone that you know who you are, and you've kind of got yourself to the evolved person and that you want to be.
So it's hard to follow up what Lena just said because I completely agree. I think far too often are we concerned about the other person, and you lose yourself. And I think that you need to know who you are and what you like, what turns you on, what is fun to you. Like, you need to know all of those things before you get into a relationship with someone, because it should be a compliment. It shouldn't be they're making up for what you don't have, right? And I just think that is super important. So I would agree with you, Elena. I think the only thing that I would add is enjoy your life, have fun, Be positive. Keep yourself together. Look good for you. You know, like for me, I have a beauty regimen, right? I go get my nails and my feet done all the time. I keep my hair together, but I do it for me. But honestly, I also know my husband is watching as well. Like, nobody wants a slouch. I'm just saying. So, I mean, I would say take care of yourself. Be presentable. Have good energy. Because I think you attract what you put out. And if you have garbage on the inside and you want to know why you're always attracting garbage, it's because something is leaking and you need to get it checked out. But that's just kind of how I feel. So I would agree with you, like working on yourself. And that's what I learned from being married previously and divorced, is that I wasn't doing that. Like I put everything into the other person, you know. And I remember it was a movie. I don't even know what movie that was. Is it The Runaway Bride, where she was like, she didn't even know what kind of eggs she liked?
Yeah,
right.
with Julia Roberts.
Yeah. I mean, that's real basic and real small, but it's the truth. Like, if you don't know who you are, what your likes and dislikes are, like, how are you out here looking for anybody?
Right.
So, I believe in the law of attraction. So, what you put out is what you get.
Super fair.
Be any white advice for the women?
So, no.
I love this subject so much.
I know.
He's so uncomfortable.
I'm not uncomfortable. Actually, I love this.
He's doing well.
I love when I don't have to talk a lot. The ladies killed that. I think the piece I would add on is, Lena said it, like you know your thing, you know your lane, you got your own stuff going on. You know yourself. You got you're hustling here and you're doing this and you're taking singing lessons, whatever your thing is, right?
Right.
The only piece I would add to that is, while you're doing all that, you still have to be open
Absolutely.
to somebody entering your life.
Absolutely.
If you're so focused on your career, if you're so focused on, let's say you had to have a kid with somebody that you're not with, and you're so focused on the kids, if you're so focused on everything, or maybe even particularly this one thing, because people get these horse blinders on, and I get it. I get why it happens, but you have to be open to letting somebody in, the right person in, and some of the wrong people in until you find the right person. You have to be open to that, and leave that part of your life available. If you're 100% focused on everything else but that, I don't see how you'll ever have anybody else enter that space effectively.
Agree.
So but I 100% with everything you guys said. Like, if you're coming in with your cup at 10%, and you're looking for somebody to fill 90%, that's a recipe for disaster. But if your cup is already right here, right, and then you you want to drop a pebble in and now it's overflowing, that's not enough room either. So you got to leave enough room for that possibility if that's what you're looking for. And if that's not what you're ready for in the moment, that's cool too.
Yeah.
It's all right not to be with somebody. It's okay to be alone for a little bit while you figure yourself out, while you're in therapy, while you're hustling the job, whatever it is.
That's right.
It's fine. You don't always need somebody filling that space. But when you're ready, you got to you got to allow that door to be open.
And to take back what you said, allowing that door to open is just being like flexible, right? And being present in the moment of where you are in your relationship. So, when me and my husband were dating, I wasn't like, we got to get married. I was just present with where we were with each other. And so that allowed us to really enjoy each other and to enjoy that time in our lives. Right. And then after we get married, everyone has the pressure of having kids. And I tell my friends who get married, like, enjoy each other for a while. Enjoy this, like, you're in this like marriage and you're with each other before you like run off and try to have kids. Because once the kids come, like that train goes in a whole nother direction. But enjoy where you are in your present moment in your relationship. Like, don't always be like focused on that next step. Enjoy the moment.
Live it in the moment. Yeah, we talk about that often. Yeah, great point. Great point.
I'm gonna push back just a touch.
That's cool.
Not that I don't agree with you guys.
Come on, we like a little pushback on the show.
I would I'm gonna push back on something you said. I would actually tell women to stop decentralize getting married, right? Like, stop focusing on it. And I would actually encourage you guys to get to the bottom of why is it so fucking important to you? Why are you so...
Me?
Maybe it's not. Or I'm building on what you said.
Yeah.
Like, why are you so pressed to get married? What is going on in your life that you think marriage is going to complete?
Yep.
Like, what is happening with you? Why can't you just enjoy... I'm not regurgitate what y'all saying. Like, why isn't what you have enough?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I would say that to all women. I have been in that position where I'm just like, I want to get married. I want to get married. I have no idea why the fuck I wanted to get married. None whatsoever. Other than I just heard it all my life. So I need to say it fucking too.
That's what you're supposed to
Right.
And sometimes it's your circle. Sometimes it's a little
That's
pressure.
Right. If
That's
you are
a
surrounded
little
by
pressure.
women
That's
who
a-
are all sitting around desperate to get married, your
Or
ass gonna be
married.
Or
fucking-
married.
Or married.
Yeah. Just
or
saying.
married. Like, and another thing to be cautious of, if you are desperate to get married, you are going to attract all the wrong men. Men can smell, the wrong type of man will smell desperation 100 yards away and will find you and make your life hell.
Agreed. But I here's art, and I kind of want to push back on that.
All right.
That desperation
Come
will
on,
bring the
push
wrong
back.
man.
No. Desperation will bring the wrong man. But if your desperation is marriage, I would think that would deflect the men that aren't interested in that type of relationship.
Why do you think that?
Because we can smell the desperation if you want to be married on you, and if that's not what I'm on, then I'm out.
But if he is also desperate and broken,
Desperate to what? Get married.
or just have somebody. Like, there are men out here who are desperate to just be with people.
Surely.
Right? You are attracting some broken, desperate man, and y'all gonna be broken and desperate with each other.
I see what
And
you're
who the fuck wants to be in that
I see what
situation?
you're saying. I see what you're
Yeah.
saying.
And some people just want the milk.
And don't want the cow.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, like men.
Cow is a lot of work.
And I'm not saying it's a lot of men, right? The subset of men I'm talking about, it's a very small percentage, right? But you still don't want to attract their ass.
I
Right?
get what you're saying.
You don't want to
I get what
attract
you're saying.
them.
I mean, yeah, because okay. So here's the flip on that. If I'm a man, as a man,
If you're a man,
right,
you want to share
if I
something
were a
with
man,
us?
as a
you were a
man,
man.
what you do if you're a certain type of man, you will take advantage of that in a different way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying that there are some men that will run from that desperation, and
Absolutely.
there are other men that will completely take advantage of that.
Absolutely.
And feed you what you want to hear and think, and
Absolutely.
knowing they're not going down that road, but they're going to get everything from you they can till it hits that point of, what we gonna do, babe? I'm not ready.
That's just kind of how they are, though.
Damn. And I think that
Who is they, man?
I'm just saying, no period.
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
saying that person is just a user.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
and that would be the narrative that you have of men. And not saying it's anybody's fault that you're attracting that, right? Like, the law of attraction is real. So it's nobody's fault. But being in that situation will build your narrative of men at that point.
Wait, can you please put up Jay Simmons'
What the
last
fuck is he
comment?
saying?
Thank you.
Go off, queen. Go off, king.
They are using your terminology against you right now. I
That's
love
okay.
it. I love when people watch the show and circle back and use the stuff against
I
us.
used that shit in Christian show. Somebody was in the comments.
There you go. There you go. But no, I think it is.
And if you don't know what that means, watch last week's show.
That's why. Yeah, I think that's crucial, and I think that is important. I think knowing yourself, loving yourself, being comfortable in the space you're in, having your own interests, having your own defined you, right, allows you to know who should even be in your space.
Absolutely.
Right, because we've already talked about there's compliments. You want a compliment, but you also want some, and that part of that compliment is, you know what, I suck at this, or I'm weak in this area, and you might not even be mentally thinking about it, but you feel somebody filling those gaps, because we all have our own gaps.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when you find somebody that fills those gaps and compliments your strengths, forget about it.
Oh. Now, I'm not going to lie. I'm actually out of questions. This is a rarity where we actually run
We're right on time.
out of questions.
We're right on time.
Wow.
I love
Look at me,
it.
man.
Look at you.
That
When you,
time
when you
management.
run the show, it's all, that's that project.
Come on,
manager.
producer.
But yeah, I'm actually out of topics. But I feel like we should give it another 3 minutes. And
Well,
then we can open.
as with every show, let's give everybody a quick 1 minute round robin. Any last minute thoughts they want to put out about
Yeah.
anything we've discussed. I always want to leave the floor open for us to finish any last second thoughts. Shell, we'll start with you. And if you don't have nothing, be like, we're good.
I just feel like I have to keep saying that sex is a very real part of a relationship.
Chatty, you're a lucky man.
Fuck your man. That's Chatty, what I get from that.
Chatty, I love. You're a lucky man. You're a lucky man.
Fuck your man. Fuck your bitch.
I think I feel the need to say that because I am a Christian woman and I was raised in the church and I spent a lot of my life in the church. I was raised Catholic, but then I converted when I got married. Because he was in the Baptist church. And you hear everything, and we just talked about our culture about church.
That's right.
Right? I just want you to know that sex is a very real part of a relationship. And it is part of what God would want you to have. So make sure that it is good. Because if you want to be in a lasting relationship, right, you want that part to be good as well. So work on it. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, work on it. And if you are with someone that is teachable, coachable, that's fine. But there are a lot of people that are not. There are a lot of people who don't have patience with that. And I just think that, I don't know, I just feel like we need to dispel the myths that, no sex before marriage and all that other stuff. Like we were just talking about, the purity piece. I think at a certain point, you need to be okay with that. That's part of who you are. So.
And one day we're going to have a show about how illogical it is for men to be fucking and women to not. Like, who y'all fucking then? That never made any sense.
See, y'all, they just
if you're not fucking us, who y'all fucking?
Same 20. When I was good. That's a different show. Lena B.
So when you think of the purity piece as a woman, just remember Lolo Jones. That's one thing. Number one. So if you, to balance that whole conversation and that impurity, just think of Lolo Jones. She's alone. Number two, sexual chemistry. Very important. I agree. And number three, the best way I think to attract the right man is just really focus on you and know who you are and be flexible to living in that moment with that person.
Love it. You want to rap on me?
I guess I should rap since you're making this my damn show.
It's your show.
Our show.
It is our show.
Unlike you.
This is your topic. So I think those are excellent points. I think Glennis has made an excellent point. B, if you can, that one right above Jay.
In a relationship. We had a whole conversation about this.
So I don't think this is not he, him, or a she, he, or her. I think this is a us.
That's right.
Be each other's piece, right? I'm not saying it's always gonna be peaceful because it's not gonna be. Mm-mm. We're gonna, as Lena said earlier, we're gonna have our moments, our seasons where I don't really like you. I love you.
But I can't stand your
guts. Right now, I don't even want to look at your ass. Holler at me tomorrow.
But go on, roll over.
Toot that booty up.
So I think that's important, but I really think what's important, and I don't want to pigeonhole this for just the ladies. I know this is really what the conversation was about, but as a man, I'm going to say, again, be comfortable in who you are. Know where you're moving, where you want to move.
Right.
And who's going to elevate you as a person. Physically, spiritually, socially, economically, all of that, right? Like, and that doesn't mean that they're necessarily on your quote unquote level on any of that, but
they should match your hustle.
Right, high tides rise boats.
Yeah.
So find the person that elevates who you are as a person. But first you gotta know who you are.
I love it.
Once you know that, the rest of it will fall in place.
How the fuck am I supposed to follow that?
This is what you do to me every show.
He asked you if you want to rap.
I need to stop doing that.
He said, "Do you want to rap?"
I did ask.
I'm just saying.
You do this
God
show.
Damn it! Is that what I do to you every show? Fuck. I think the only look. Let me be clear. I am not married. I am in a very fresh relationship. It will be 1 year next week.
Come on now.
Hey,
Come on now. Come on, I'm gonna get out a real clap. Come on.
A real clap.
That's right.
And so
I'm sorry, hearing the period. This is not a real clap.
Whatever I say is from a single girl's perspective. I think you just have to come into a relationship whole. I think you have to be whole. You have to be whole and you have to be happy. That's the only way you're going to attract somebody who can elevate you, is to be whole and happy. And if you just work on that and have fun and date the wrongs and the rights, and have a full life. I think that's the only thing I would encourage. Have a very full life. I think that's a lot of what people are missing, is just have a full life.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's it. Sorry, I don't have anything magical to say this season.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Hey, first of all, thank you, Shell. Thank you, Lena B. I haven't seen you in person in a while, but it's great to see your face even through the screen. I'm not here next week.
I know.
I am out of town. So
I have a topic.
So it's all on Shon.
I got a good topic.
Not that she's not accustomed to me being gone.
I know.
What is the topic, though?
So, shout out to Erica Callahan. She gave a really great topic that I've been trying to roll in.
I'm scared.
You wanted me to do it when you were gone.
I'm scared.
But a topic about Chicago hip-hop. I will say, I know nothing about fucking Chicago hip-hop and how we've contributed to the hip-hop scene. So, I've already figured out a couple of people. B. Gorman's going to help me bring them in.
I hope our producer today is in here.
Who else was I going to talk to? the curator, or one of the curators of the Chicago Hip Hop Museum in Bronzeville. Please come check it out. What days are you guys open, B? Wednesdays and Saturdays. Come out, check them out, learn about all the hip hop greats. So we're going to talk about who are the legends in Chicago and how did they contribute to hip hop.
Love it.
I'm excited.
Like Love it.
Me too.
Love it. We cannot be in the Chicago broadcasting in the Chicago Hip Hop Museum and not have that conversation.
I don't know how we've done this for 2 years.
It's only been a year.
Okay, well, going on. It's a year and a half. But anyway. Yes.
So that's exciting. I will be tuning in. I'm excited about that conversation, particularly when you have two of the, really, to be honest, unheralded Chicago hip hop legends that run the studio, not on the studio, but this museum. Yep. Happy to have them on. Thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. Keep it moving, Chi-Town summer. For everybody else is enjoying the summer everywhere else, let's keep it moving. Love y'all. Be safe. And we will see you next week.
Bye.